I don't know if that's just he happened to get hot at the end of the season. I like rolling the dice on maybe he just did get that good. And if he is that talented and they want to give him the ball that much, yeah. So I've completely flipped the script on him.
We just did a 180 on Jonathan Taylor.
Well, this is what we did last time too. It's like everything is worse, but it probably still doesn't. It's probably still not enough, and people are already factoring it in to him as a player.
Yeah. And I would say we'll see if Jonathan Taylor can stay hot. I got one more lock that I just remembered. It's a third one.
You did the stay hot.
I did.
You said the name of the podcast. Nice.
I did say the name. Now we can stop. The podcast is over.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the bonus episode of Stay Hot. I'm joined, as always, by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Theo Ash and Matthew Sponhour. How are you guys today?
I'm awesome. Late here.
I'm glad you decided to join us for the bonus episode.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, no, I'm doing good too, just like I was last episode.
Nice. We were talking earlier about how Matt has like the most grown-up room for anyone under the age of like 30.
I'm very proud of my room, I'd like to say.
It's a good room.
I've got plants, I've got cool posters, I've got a desk, and I've got a nice window.
Radiohead poster. Thank you. Crazy.
I've got the Joy Division poster. You've got the Radiohead poster. Blaiden, where's your depressed that's
true. I put that poster up.
I need to get like a band poster. I got it. I'll get one. I'll get one. Get it framed and everything.
You mean like an Interpol poster to complete the like.
I was gonna get like Muse or like this one band I've been listening to. I don't know how, but they found me. Like get like some alt funk in there.
Yeah. No.
Do you know who that is, Theo? You messed with. I don't know how they found me.
You showed us them in Vegas.
Did I? Oh, I did. That's right. They're fire. Mm-hmm. But anyway, we're going to finish out the fantasy locks today. We're going to go over the AFC North and AFC South, which gives me an excuse to talk about the Browns, obviously. But make sure you guys like, subscribe, leave a review, comment, etc. Keep growing this podcast on all platforms: YouTube, Apple, Spotify, the works. And if you haven't, make sure you follow @StayHotPod on TikTok for some awesome content there as well. Now, we're going to start with the AFC South, I assume, so we can finish with the Browns best for last. But starting with the AFC South, are there any guys in here that you feel are locks? Matt, let's start with you.
AFC South?
AFC South.
You always say locks when I'm about to give like a deep sleeper who's like, I think this guy should be rostered and he's not.
Yeah, maybe like locks and letdowns aren't the right terminology. It's just like good and not
here's
good.
Guy I like and guy I do not like. A guy I like, Carlos Hyde. Now that there's no more ETN, I still think that they plan to spread the ball out a little bit more this year. I think Carlos Hyde's going to get some goal line work. I think his ADP is crazy low or whatever. He's probably rosterable. I'm not saying he has a super, super high upside, but I think he could be a valuable backup.
I think the lock that I've got is Michael Pittman. He's going as wide receiver 52 right now as a primary weapon on a team that, we all know how we feel about Wentz, and we feel that he is not that good, but the potential for them to move up and down the field. And Wentz does like his big bodied wide receivers like Alshon Jeffrey and Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz. Historically, those are the guys that succeed with Wentz. Michael Pittman fits that description. He's the number one wide receiver, I think. I think he's better than T.Y. at this point. So to get him at wide receiver 53, I think is where I'm seeing him at, like way low. Like that's pretty good value there to me for a guy who could be seeing a lot of goal line work, fades, and a guy who historically has a path to success with Carson Wentz and in that offense. And he was good last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good pick. I wouldn't have gone that direction. I'm going with a guy who I don't think he's not like super underrated. It's not going to be like awesome value or anything. But Ryan Tannehill, I think, is going to be a pretty solid choice in fantasy. Just kind of like not last episode, but a couple episodes ago, we were talking about Tom Brady and how he's just going to be so reliable. I think Tannehill is going to be kind of the same way. There's just no way with all those weapons, A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, maybe you're worried about Derrick Henry taking too much of a load, but I just don't see a scenario in which like Tannehill underperforms, and he's at quarterback 10 right now. So I think that's a very solid place to be.
Yeah, I do like going like kind of swinging around and take a late quarterback if I don't see the value with like a Josh Allen or one of those top guys. And Tannehill's a good dude to do it with because he's in a great offense.
Exactly. Moving on.
I think one more guy.
I was gonna move on to letdowns, but if you have another guy that you really like, we can knock out the locks back to back.
I might steal this from Spun Hour, but I've got Brandin Cooks as my other lock, kind of in a similar way to Michael Pittman. It's
you
like
did steal that from Spun Hour. It's tough.
I did.
It's a great pick.
I mean,
meant
was
like you
your
stole
second
a guy on
guy?
my list. Yeah, he was my second guy.
Oh,
I don't blame you though.
Think of
It's a
someone
great
else.
pick. Oh no! I didn't mean like that.
Anyways, Cooks we both agree that, I mean, you're getting a guy who is historically overperformed wide receiver, like whatever he's getting drafted in the 40s.
40.
Yeah, he's the guy there. Like, who else is there's Nico Collins, the rookie. There's Anthony Miller, who's going to be in the slot. But not having a good quarterback is not the same as not having a quarterback at all. They're going to pass the football around and someone needs to catch it. Like, it's not like there's not a quarterback there that can't complete passes. Like, again, it may not be the top offense in the league, but you're still getting a guy who's going to be on the field for almost 100% of the snaps, and a guy that's going to be, he should be getting plenty of targets because he's a talented guy who's historically, put up good seasons. And, unless he falls off a cliff this year, there's no reason to expect, I think, another pretty successful season from him.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely like, their offense is going to be terrible. And their offense probably
it will be. It probably will be.
But they will still run and pass and try to score. And somebody is going to gain some yards
run
there.
And pass.
Yeah.
They will exist on the football field at times.
So, Brandon, the other thing with Brandin Cooks is the injury problems I think are pretty real. But I still think he's undervalued, even taking that into consideration.
He's never been a sexy pick. He's Brandin Cooks. He's the most fine wide receiver ever. He's been in the league forever. He's always pretty good, but not great. At this point, people are bored of him, trying to find the next big thing instead of just taking the Brandin Cooks in front of him.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess that's totally fair. Matt, since Theo stole your guy, do you have another or no?
That was it, but I have a letdown that I want to talk about a little bit because me and Theo, we were talking about him earlier, and we didn't have the guts to say him, but I'm gonna have some guts now. I don't love Jonathan Taylor for next year. I don't know. There's too many running backs on that team. They have a great offensive line, and they're gonna run it like crazy probably. But I don't know, dude. What if they want to use Marlon Mack? If they want to use him a decent amount, you would feel very, very nervous about Taylor because then you have Hines in there too. And we don't know what the deal with Quentin Nelson is. So, I still probably have him as a running back 1 in that top 12 guys, but I'm a little bit lower on him in the first round.
This is me telling tales out of school, and this is me speculating, and this is me giving a vibe check. But I kind of feel like Marlon Mack might be one of those guys that just disappears. I don't know. I feel like he might be that guy who is like a big name who rushed for 1,000 yards one time a long time ago. And he might be Alfred Morris now. And it just is some dude who's there a little bit. I don't have any basis for saying this. That's just the vibe I get from him.
No, it's so... I want to say that I don't trust Taylor, and then I'm so easily talked out of it every time because, if you were the offensive coordinator, who would you give the ball to? Hines and Taylor. Yep, that's what you do. So I can't disagree. The offensive line still should be good with and hopefully they get Quentin Nelson back. So
but I do agree with you that end of the first round, taking him in the elite range, I would take Zeke before him easily.
Yeah.
And I'm betting in most fantasy leagues. Here's the
thing, and I wish that was could be my take, but I think he's getting taken behind Zeke typically. I don't think I've ever seen him taken behind Zeke. And honestly, if I'm being real, Taylor is a type of guy who I see dropping a lot of drafts, a lot of mocks I've been doing with people, he drops. So even having him as a sleeper, or not a sleeper, as a bust probably is wrong because it doesn't ever seem to go as high as his ADP is. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. But I kind of agree with you because it's like what makes a situation not worse? Everything is worse than it was last year. So it's like, why are we expecting last year's results? You know, that I can understand. But he finished as like running back 6 last year, and he wasn't getting the ball all that much. So if he gets it,
he wasn't getting the ball all that much. He went crazy the second half of the season.
The end, he was
he went nuts. And I don't know if that's just he happened to get hot at the end of the season or if he really is that good. But if he gets past like after Zeke and probably Chubb and Barkley, maybe not even Chubb, you start to get in a range where it's like
Chubb.
He's right
Chubb
there. So like maybe at 8 or 9, you start to get in that range where like I like rolling the dice on maybe he just did get that good. And if he is that talented and they want to give him the ball that much, yeah. So I've completely flipped the script on him.
We just did a 180 on Jonathan.
Well, this is what we did last time too. It's like everything is worse, but it probably still doesn't. It's probably still not enough. And people are already factoring it in to him as a player.
Yeah. And I would say we'll see if Jonathan Taylor can stay hot. I got one more lock that I just remembered. It's a third one.
You did the stay hot.
I did.
You said the name of the podcast. Nice.
I did say the name. Now we can stop. The podcast is over. But at any rate, I'm just going to quickly mention I really like Marvin Jones down in Jacksonville. I think that it is clear. I think that it is clear that he is the best wide receiver there. That Trevor Lawrence trusts him the most.
That my other letdown. I don't mean to interrupt you, but DJ Chark. Is kind of a
I
guy
agree with you. We'll go with that. That'll be a good transition. I think Marvin Jones is the guy who's getting drafted behind LaVisca and Chark. I think he finishes with more targets than both of them because he's good.
Yeah, 100%. And I just don't think. I think it really is. He is not as exciting as those two guys. I think people just aren't quite as excited about Jones, but he could very easily be the number one target on that team. Very, very, very easily.
Matt, I'm kind of mad you took my guy. I was about to lean into Marvin a little bit. I wasn't a big fan of him earlier, but I've recently.
Well, do you have any guys? Who do you have any backups? Or are you not ready for this?
You know, I've been leaning into Mark Ingram a little bit, and as a sleeper. Theo said I need to clarify that I need to clarify that I'm gonna say that Mark Ingram's gonna be a little bit of a sleeper. Philip Lindsay, from what I've read, hasn't been super spectacular. David Johnson is kind of this just injury prone, and even when he comes back, he's not really that guy he was for one stint in Arizona. I think Mark Ingram might get the majority of the touches. And again, this is an offense, Houston, that's not going to be very good, but they have to play offense, and someone has to do something on the field. So even if he only has like 800 yards, I don't think it'll be like by any means a bad stretch for him. I feel like someone has to do something in that offense. I think it'll be Mark Ingram.
I can see that reality, and he's going as running back 70 right now. It's just such an insane split backfield. But I mean, he's getting like almost no love at all, and I can see him, definitely carving out a role because David Johnson and Philip Lindsay are probably nothing special at this point, and neither might be.
We've seen Mark Ingram, but we've seen
David Johnson do well.
That would probably be
David Johnson's been the most injury.
Where do you think David Johnson was a good fantasy running back?
If David Johnson is,
and actually,
if David Johnson's healthy, I could see it.
David Johnson, he's at like 40. I don't know. I don't trust Ingram to really get that big share of the carries. He probably is going to finish better than running back 70 if he can stay healthy. But David Johnson has big time receiving upside, so he'd probably be my pick if things were to work out for him.
I think I would lean Matt here and agree that of the three, Lindsay being above both of them, I think is wrong.
But what I think the real play here is to draft none of these guys because I don't know what's going to happen. They're all injury prone.
It's the same deal with who were we talking about last time where it's like, yeah, this guy could be good.
The Bills, dude. The Bills receivers outside of Diggs. I just don't know receivers. Just like don't take a chance on them. It's like they're all good, and like one of them gets hurt, and then all of a sudden, totally different game. But I don't know.
Yeah, I would say maybe one letdown, and I've talked about this before, is Julio, and I think if Julio is viewed as like kind of the tier 1 of wide receivers, and he might even go before AJ Brown in some leagues. Like, I don't know if that's an average.
His ADP right now is 14.
It's really receivers.
Low. Is it?
Yeah, it's
I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like the ADP and what actually happens in the leagues of casual players is a little bit different in this case. I would feel uncomfortable with him as my wide receiver, like lock wide receiver 1. But if he's wide receiver 14, then I guess I don't care that much, and I'm not going to complain. Anyway, he's just someone that's injury prone and has never scored a lot of touchdowns. If he's like your wide receiver 2. Yeah, I don't know though. But if he's wide receiver 14 and you're getting him he's like a high end wide receiver 2, that's something I can't really complain about. Just to throw it out there, just to put it out there a little bit. I'm a little bit cautious.
Don't overdraft the name. Don't
overdraft the name Julio Jones. And I feel like, ADP is awesome, but there's always one guy in your league who will see the name Julio Jones and be like, oh my God, that's the best wide receiver in the league. And he's here at wide receiver 5 or something. And then it's like, don't be that guy.
Yeah.
Don't be that guy. That's my only warning.
Yeah, that is the one thing to worry about. Matt, do you have, I guess you were saying that your letdown was Chark, right?
Yeah, I had Chark. And I'll call it at that. You guys want to get into the AFC North?
Yeah, let's get into my favorite division in the NFL. Well, technically, it's my least favorite division as a unit. It's just my favorite team is in the division, but outside of the,
let's talk about the damn fantasy players.
Matt's like, please just stop talking about the Browns. I swear.
Well, maybe is it my favorite or my least favorite? Who knows, man? Let's. I have a fantasy lock that I've recently changed my mind on, and I now feel very confidently about. I really like Najee Harris. I think that he is in line for a ton of work. I think that they're going to make a point of running the ball with him a lot. And I do think he's a really talented back. I've seen him go like at 16 overall. That's really good value. He is
currently ranked above Austin Eckler. He is running back 11 right now.
Okay, so I might take Eckler above him. He's down one spot then for me. I wouldn't call that like a bust. I love Najee Harris for next year. I think they're going to make a point of making him the workhorse back.
I think so too. My only thing is like, can the Steelers afford to have a workhorse back with where they're going to be? Like, if the running game, if the first quarter rolls around and he has 7 carries for 14 yards, like, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like the you go from James Conner to Najee Harris, and what changes? Like, I know that he's more athletic than James Conner. I know that. But
the difference is that they spent a first-round draft pick on Najee Harris. They gave James Conner a huge workload before. Like that's not something they haven't done before. And even if they are passing a ton, do you think Big Ben's going to be able to air it out a ton? Probably not, right? Like we're projecting no. I feel like that bodes really well for Najee Harris catching a bunch of passes.
But James Conner was a good pass catching back too, and he didn't catch that many passes last year. And now they've got Pat Freiermuth, and they've got Johnson and Juju, and like I just don't know how often that you want to get the running back involved. And it's not like he's Christian McCaffrey out here. It's not like he's Austin Eckler.
He got in 2018. They gave him 771 targets in 13 games. I really think that a healthy Najee Harris, they're going to get like their point is they want to make him the workhorse back. And I do get that, like, maybe if they go down really early, but they have a great defense. So I don't think they're going to need to score like 35 points a game. Plus, it's less about them running the ball a lot, and it's more about them running the ball with one dude. Like the Panthers are like 24th in rushing attempts, but we don't care. I guess that's different because McCaffrey's receiving upside. But yeah, I totally believe in Harris. You could get a huge steal with him if you draft him in the second.
You're probably right. Fine. All right. Okay. All right. Okay.
Theo
fine. All right. Fine.
Theo concedes.
I'll concede. Fine. All right. Okay.
All right. Who's your guy, Theo?
I've got a bust, and I'm going to call him Jarvis Landry. I don't think that that's a guy I would be targeting high.
Where is Jarvis being drafted?
About 38.
Mm-hmm. Above Pittman, above Marvin Jones. And it's like, Blaiden, you like Donovan Peoples-Jones, right?
Yeah.
And you like Rashard Higgins, and you think they have talent and upside, and you want them to get more targets. who's getting the targets taken away? You know, Jarvis Landry has been a drag route merchant for years. That guy is not, he ran like a 4.8 at the guy. He ran like a 4.7. The dude is, I do not think Jarvis Landry is, I've always thought he's overrated. He has one more Pro Bowl. If he gets one more Pro Bowl selection, he matches Randy Moss's career total. And I think that's a travesty because that guy is not fast. He doesn't get hit down the field a whole lot.
Pro Bowls literally don't matter.
There definitely has been like, he's had some weird seasons, like 161 targets, didn't hit 1,000 yards. I don't want to get too much into like the stats or whatever, but like that's kind of crazy. That's pretty insane.
I'm telling you, there are guys with better skill sets than Jarvis Landry and guys who offer more than Jarvis Landry and who can do more because they're faster, better after the catch, and have more reliable hands. I'm telling you, Jarvis Landry is a good short to intermediate. He's like maybe a discount Keenan Allen, where he's like a good short to intermediate type of route runner, and he's open in those areas. But you know, I want a more dynamic guy than that. I do, and I think Peoples-Jones and not Hollywood Brown, Hollywood Higgins is if you want them to get more targets. And I think Odell is. I still think I don't think the gap between the things Odell Beckham can do and the things Stephon Diggs can do are all that different. I really don't. I think Odell is still a fantastic wide receiver that is just needs to form a better connection. And he's someone that I think is getting undervalued right now. And I like all those guys. So it's like, who's getting taken away? Jarvis Landry.
Well, here's the weird thing about that, right? Odell Beckham out. You're like, okay, well that's got to be good for Jarvis. He dropped from 138 targets to 101 last season with Odell out.
Wide receivers broke out behind him.
Yeah, so I kind of think that, and they drafted somebody who
Anthony Schwartz.
Anthony
Schwartz out of Auburn.
So I don't know, dude. I mean,
that he's so fast.
I kind of do think that he might be trending in the wrong direction here. You would have expected his production to stay, at least sound like the targets to stay similar with Odell out, and it just hasn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the biggest problem
if they're
going
to trade a wide receiver, there's all the Odell Beckham trade rumors. If they were to trade a wide receiver, it would be Jarvis, in my opinion.
I think the big thing with the Browns, I think kind of everyone on that is a risk in fantasy, even Odell, just because there are so many. You know, we talk about like literally every offense. Odell, if anyone, has, or maybe Nick Chubb, right? I would think that Nick Chubb probably has the highest ceiling in fantasy. And then maybe Odell after that, but no one else. I wouldn't even bat an eye in anyone else's direction. It's just it's
I disagree,
really scary.
100%. Yeah, this is you overrating the Browns. You're trying to play it out. So we should have so many people. Odell's big concern is him getting hurt and Baker getting the ball, not everyone else being too talented in that receiving core. That's not the concern.
I didn't say everyone else was too talented. I said the's too many guys.
There's too many players. Likes a lot of them. So you meant
too many what guys? Too many bad guys or too many good guys?
Come on.
Baker loves Higgins. Baker loves Peoples-Jones.
I think I would still look at Kareem Hunt, even though he's in a split backfield. I don't think that totally takes him out of fantasy 100%.
Yeah, I guess Kareem.
But I do kind of agree the Browns' offense is a little weird to work.
Like, as much as I would love to just sit here and be like, yeah, Odell's a lock, Nick Chubb's a lock, and honestly, Nick Chubb is a lock for me. I mean, he's in my mind. I don't care what anyone says. Nick Chubb's the best running back in the NFL. And you know, regardless of having Kareem Hunt there, Nick Chubb's going to get his touches, right? Behind arguably the league's best offensive line, definitely top 3, but probably the best. He'll be good. And I know he's like getting drafted at running back 5. If you took him top 3, I wouldn't hate you for it.
I don't think so.
I agree with you, Blaiden. I think Nick Chubb's a safe bet. That's a guy who averaged
3. You would take him at running back 3?
I would take him.
There's so many guys we don't like. I don't know.
Not a talent thing.
I know it's not a talent thing.
At 3.
Yeah, 3 is a little bit high above you. You know, there's Kamara, McCaffrey, and then like
Derrick
Cook.
Henry.
And then you would take him above a lot of guys. But I mean, maybe running back 5 after you throw Henry in there. I wouldn't blame you. Maybe
Yeah.
I would take Zeke above him, but I like Nick Chubb a lot. I really do. Like Kamara,
and it's not even like a matter of touches, because every touch that Nick Chubb gets is a threat to go to the house. So like,
well, it is a little bit a matter of touches. I mean,
but think about Nick Chubb. Again, this is an excuse for me to talk about the Browns. Nick Chubb's rookie year, he gets 3 carries against the Raiders, and they're all breakaway runs. So
that
like,
it's a great.
I agree. I think he's the second best back in the league behind Henry. Like again, but yeah, Hunt is also could be a top 10 running back. Like he could legitimately be considered a top 10 running back in the league, I think. So that's just the problem. But I think his workload has steadily gone up almost every year of his career. They seem to get
his workload is trending a little bit up.
Trending upwards.
I don't think I have him at 3, but 5 is very reasonable for him. I do think that I am not as worried about the split backfield as other people are, but it also is like, it's the reason why he isn't the number 1 back. You know, there's a reason why he's not being taken number 1 right now. I think it's a very valid concern to say, Kareem Hunt's going to get some work, but yeah.
Yeah. No,
anyway, another lock might be a Steelers guy. Pat Freiermuth is a guy who has been lighting it up in training camp, a guy who caught 2 touchdowns in the preseason game, a guy who was a good tight end prospect and would have been the number 1 tight end prospect if it wasn't for one Kyle Pitts. And I know there's a lot of weapons on that Steelers offense, but I don't know, a big tight end like that, over the middle of the field, Ben scored 2 touchdowns with him last night, even with all the weapons. If you needed to sneak a guy in there, he's a guy that I think is probably not going to underperform in that offense, like compared to where he's being drafted. I think he's a lock to, if you're in a deeper league and you need a tight end and you want to wait to the very end, I think that he's a safe bet. I do. I think that he could be, both the catches during the preseason game were like impressive catches. So he just might be that guy. And I think that Pat Freiermuth is probably my other lock. I think that there's nothing but upside with him, and he could finish as a top 10 tight end in the league after this season.
Now that last statement was kind of bold. Man. That last statement was very bold. Top 10 tight end for a rookie. Well, actually, I guess it's not that bold, but I guess for a rookie, that's the biggest thing.
Tight ends. But yeah, I guess
that's what I was thinking.
It's
for a rookie. That's what makes it bold.
Maybe I'll change it to Deontay Johnson. I like Deontay Johnson. He's my favorite wide receiver in that Steelers trio. I think that he is someone that can take a screen to the house. Probably the only one who can really do that on the Steelers offense. And I think that's going to be kind of important for a Steelers offense that won't be hitting probably all that many deep shots. But, having a guy like that who can rack it up and sneak in between a bunch of defenders and score, that's another guy I like. But I do think Freiermuth has some hidden value as a deep league tight end. Yeah.
Maybe like a dynasty league. Yeah, 100%.
Fair. Matt, is there anyone in the AFC North that you're like not a big fan of, not too fond of?
I feel like we got to talk about him, right? Jamar Chase. We're not super high on him here. As somebody's been saying that like I've been overreacting to like before the regular season stuff. But what more has to go wrong for Jamar Chase for people to be out on him? I said a while ago, I said T. Higgins was the guy I was worried about in that receiving core. Wrong. I don't think so. I don't agree. I think it's Chase is the guy that I'm worried about. Not even getting into the whole girlfriend drama stuff. He's looked really rough. He's looked like he hasn't catch. He looks like he hasn't been able to catch recently. He had 3 drops. His separation has not been great. He hasn't looked good in camp. And his quarterback is definitely a question mark for week 1 as far as how he's going to look coming back. And it's not like you're getting Jamar Chase at a super low ADP, so where it's like, kind of a roll of the dice. He's being taken as a wide receiver too. I think that's super, super, super risky.
Yeah, he could be. I mean, Boyd and T. Higgins might very well be better than him. Like, very easily that could happen. And like Chase, in my opinion, was when I was doing my pre-draft rankings, I went Smith, then Waddle and Bateman tied, and then I had, I think, Terrace Marshall, and then I had Chase. So it's not like I was particularly high on Chase to begin on. And then with the offseason he's had, it's like, man, there is bust potential here. There is bust potential here. And it's like, I want to give him, some time, obviously. But it's like, when you're talking fantasy, like, let someone else take that on at where he's getting drafted. Like, the bust potential is scaring me. And I think like Boyd might be the guy that I take from that trio. I think that might be the safest pick. I'm not fading him. I would take him over Chase. I think he might be a better wide receiver than Chase. I think he's a good player. So, and he's getting drafted pretty late. So of that trio, I think Boyd is the best value, and Chase is one of the worst values in all of fantasy football right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't want to make like excuses for Chase, but I don't think we can discount the fact. That's what I'm saying. He has not played football in a year and a half.
So like, there's so
that
much
first preseason game was like the first time he has played football in a game in like reps. 19 months.
Well, he played in that first preseason game.
That's what I'm saying. That was his first time playing in like 19 months.
That was his second. The one with 3 drops was technically his second time because that was their second preseason game. But
I'm just saying, like,
it's been a long time.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's ridiculous.
And it's like Chase could turn out as a receiver and it just not work out for him fantasy wise this year. And there's too much there. There's too much.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, how do you guys feel about the question on everyone's mind, Joe Mixon?
It's funny.
I like Joe Mixon. I think Joe Mixon.
I definitely think he's not as that's everybody's like bust.
Stay away.
He's everyone's favorite bust.
Okay, the reason why is because Bengals fans keep saying that every year they're like, "Oh, Joe Mixon's going to be great in fantasy," and then every year he sucks in fantasy.
But by every year they mean like the last 2 years, right? Yeah. And I wonder if it was just they were expecting him to take a bigger step up in like from 2018 to 2019, and he really didn't. And then last year he got hurt. Is that really?
I mean, this would be the year for him to take that kind of role of having a million touches, especially if Burrow is not is not capable to throw like 40 times a game.
And like in 2019 he had 1,500 yards from scrimmage, right? Or close to it. This guy is not, it's not like he's awful. I wonder what his 2019 finish was.
Blaiden thinks he's a scrub. you went on record and called him a bum.
I did make like 3 videos about Joe Mixon, didn't I? I mean,
you were like, I can't believe people think he's like a quality starter. He is a quality starter. You're wrong about that. He's good. He's a good running back. It's just the offensive line. Last year failed him and injuries.
Maybe I'm just too used to Nick Chubb being able to just dominate without a good offensive line.
With where Joe Mixon is getting drafted, I've got him in front of me as running back 13. I think that he's going to overperform that and finish like running back 8, 9, 10. I would take
the reason why I would think to stay away from him is just injury stuff, right? His finishes are 9 and 11 the last 2 times he was fully healthy. So I don't think there's some huge upside for him to go be like a running back like 4 this next year, right? Like maybe not as much as some of those other running backs around him. So injuries plus not as great upside as other dudes does make me kind of stay away from him, but not necessarily because I don't think he can reach running back 13.
Yeah, I think 13's probably a good spot, for being totally honest.
I draft him a little bit above that, but I've always felt that way about Mixon, and I've definitely gotten burned before, but
dude's a big Mixon fan.
Different.
It's going to be different this time, I swear.
Cowboys.
It's the same thing with Dallas. It's the exact same thing with Dallas. You just pick them.
It's the same thing with every damn team. I don't care. Every fan base is the same. Dallas is no different than anyone else. Like literally what fan base doesn't think it's their year? Every single one. But
okay, but I'm saying year, last year I picked the Cowboys to be a Super Bowl team. Mm-hmm. And then this year I'm like, oh, they're going to be like 12-5. And people are like, bro, it's the Cowboys. Like, stop picking the Cowboys to be good. And I'm like, no.
Anyway,
it's like,
moving on.
Moving on. Guys. If I have another guy I really like.
Shoot.
It's not like a big, great value or anything, but Lamar. Lamar has to be that guy this year. I'm fully confident that he will be. He's being mocked right now as like QB4, which is probably about right. But, if there was anyone that I felt like could be outside of like Allen, if there was anyone else I thought could be like a QB1 in fantasy, it would be Lamar. I feel like there's no one else who is going to get the football, more than him. Like, he's going to run the ball a lot. Their offensive line, maybe not quite as good as it used to be, but Lamar's that dude. And he's going to have some receivers now. Things will be looking up.
The receivers are there. I do feel pretty decent about him.
Bateman gets healthy. I love Tylan Wallace. And if Marquise Brown is your wide receiver 3, I'm feeling really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say Lamar is getting drafted at quarterback 4, and that's about where I would take him. I think that
so if he's a lock to be QB4,
he's just got so much rushing upside that it's like
it's impossible.
You feel pretty good about it. Does he throw 30-something touchdowns like he did in 2019? Most likely not. But
does he need to?
Does he?
Probably
Yeah.
not.
Does he? Does he need to be wide receiver, to be quarterback 4? Potentially quarterback 1 with the amount of rushing stuff upside that he has. I mean, he's probably going to get 1,000 yards rushing. Anyway, that's about all I've got. I can't think of anyone else. We haven't talked about our boy J.K. Dobbins, who I think is probably good.
The only problem with Dobbins is because there is the rushing aspect of Lamar, and Gus Edwards is really good. That's the only problem I have with Dobbins being like an elite threat in fantasy. Because otherwise, I was going to say Dobbins. That was the other guy that I was thinking about. I don't care.
Dobbins good. He's too
good. Dobbins good. I want him on my team. Don't care. They'll all will be revealed when he gets folded in half and still stays up and scores a touchdown. And then people are like, oh.
I really think that's going to happen too. I think that they're going to go in with the plan of being way more of a committee, and it's just going to be impossible to because J.K. Dobbins is too good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess that kind of happened with Chubb.
When he gets like blasted in the shoulder by some linebacker and bounces off of it like 5 yards to his left and then keeps going full speed, people will be like,
It's like, we should run this guy more. He's too good.
It's going to be really hard to keep him off the field.
Yeah, I do. I think that he is. We all think that J.K. Dobbins' highlights are too impressive. His yards after contact is insane. Rushing yards over expected. Like the amount of yards he creates for an offense, he could be a future All-Pro in my opinion. That's the tackle breaking ability that he has. And I think he could be viewed as an upper echelon guy by the end of the year. And I'm going to bet on that talent. So I think that he's better than the wide receiver.
This did happen before, man. And like I'm not this guy. It's Echelon.
Yeah. Okay.
Echelon.
Someone called you out. People called you out in the
many people
comments
called me out for upper. I never was taught how to properly say upper echelon. I'm sorry.
Well,
it's not okay, man.
I know it's not okay. Upper echelon.
All right. So now that we fixed that, you're forgiven, Theo. It's okay. But I think that kind of wraps things up on our. You're right.
I'm glad Echelon boy doesn't roll off the tongue like Lemon boy or Corn boy, because that's what.
Echelon boy.
Have you seen the corn comments have started to kind of roll back around?
No, I haven't seen any of the corn comments.
Yeah, I keep
those.
I keep liking them on the Stay Hot account.
Thank you, man.
Get oh, you're welcome.
Very sweet of you.
I do it. I do it just for you. But I think that kind of wraps things up for us. We did it. That is our entirety of fantasy. I think that kind of wraps up our big fantasy recap. A lot of our drafts should be happening soon. Our draft is happening in less than a week, September 1st. We will be live streaming it. Yeah. We will, come out with bit of a plan on that.
We've got 2 people on board that no one knows about, and they're very exciting. And I hope I don't look like an idiot in front of them. And you guys should watch to see who they are. Or I guess we'll announce it before the live stream.
Yeah, we will announce it. I think we're doing August 30th. Is that 2 days before September 1st? Yes, August 30th. Monday, August 30th, we will release an announcement about the live stream fantasy draft. But until next time, guys, tons of content coming your way. This was, first of all, can I get a round of applause for not doing like the AFC East when we were doing the NFC North, or the AFC North? For sticking to the right content.
You did do a good job.
You did great, man.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much.
I'm holding my mic, so I can't clap, but
Yeah, no,
that's the only thing that's preventing me from doing it.
But thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, from Corn Boy, Dunk Boy, and Lemon Boy, we will catch you all on the flippity flop.